I never thought a single message could change everything between me and my sister. It started on what seemed like an ordinary day. Sunlight spilling lazily across the living room, the hum of daily life, laughter, and the usual family chatter. But beneath that calm, tension had been quietly building for months. Almost invisible, almost ignorable. My sister and I had always been close, at least on the surface. We shared secrets, jokes, and childhood memories. But sometimes closeness comes with cracks. Cracks that grow when pride, jealousy, and hidden resentment fester. That morning, my phone buzzed with a message from her. Normally, it would be a simple "good morning" or a meme, but this time it was different. It was a recording, a short audio clip of our parents, private and unguarded, saying something I could never imagine being shared outside of our home. My heart skipped a beat. I recognized the tone immediately. It was her. She was taunting me. I knew she had recorded this secretly, probably waiting for the perfect moment to humiliate me or make me look foolish. I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. How could she betray that trust? The very thought of her weaponizing something so personal made my blood boil. But at the same time, a quiet voice inside me urged caution. Reacting impulsively would give her exactly what she wanted: control, satisfaction, power over my emotions. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down, even though every fiber of my being wanted to reply in fury. For hours, I stared at that message, debating my next move. My mind raced with questions. Why now? Why me? Did she really think this would hurt me, or did she simply want to prove she could do it? I thought about all the little moments we'd shared over the years, memories that suddenly felt tainted by suspicion. She had always been competitive, a little jealous of my achievements, my independence, my relationships. But this was something else. I needed to understand her motive. Why expose our parents? Why involve family in this way? As I replayed the recording over and over, I realized something chilling. This wasn't just about embarrassment. It was a test, a way to measure my reaction, my weaknesses, and my ability to handle pressure. She wanted to see if I would crack. And for the first time, I saw her in a new light. Not my sister, not my ally, but an opponent. Someone I had to outsmart. Someone I had to approach carefully. That day, I made a choice. I wouldn't react immediately. I wouldn't let anger cloud my judgment. I decided to observe, to understand, and to plan. If she thought she could trap me with a single message, she was gravely mistaken. Little did she know, her attempt to humiliate me would be the very thing that backfired spectacularly. As evening fell, I sat by the window, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The world seemed calm, but inside a storm was brewing. My sister believed she held all the cards, but she had underestimated me, my patience, and my ability to turn the tables. The next few days would test everything: my composure, my strategy, and my understanding of the fine line between justice and revenge. I didn't know yet how far I would go or what I would uncover, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. By the time this was over, she would never see me the same way again. And she would learn, sometimes the weapon you wield against someone else can end up destroying you instead. The next morning, the house felt different. There was an almost tangible tension in the air, subtle but unmistakable, like a storm just beyond the horizon. My sister moved around as usual, humming softly, chatting with our parents in a way that was meant to seem normal, but I could see the faint smirk on her face. She thought I hadn't noticed, but I had. Every gesture, every glance was calculated. She wanted me to crack. She wanted me to show weakness. I decided to approach this carefully. Reacting impulsively, responding with anger or confrontation would give her exactly what she wanted. Instead, I made a silent vow. I would uncover why she did this, and when the time was right, I would make sure the outcome was in my favor. First, I needed to understand the context of the recording. How long had she been planning this? How much did she know? And more importantly, was she trying to manipulate our parents too? I began piecing together small details I had ignored in the past, the way she had been unusually curious about my conversations, the subtle questions she asked about family matters, even the way she lingered around when I was talking to our parents. It all clicked into place like pieces of a puzzle I hadn't noticed until now. She had been studying me for weeks, maybe months, looking for the perfect moment to strike. And I realized something even more dangerous. This wasn't just about a single recording or a fleeting joke. It was her pattern, her method of control. My sister had always thrived on manipulating situations to her advantage, quietly undermining those around her while keeping a facade of innocence.
But I was no longer the unsuspecting sibling I had been. I began documenting everything. Her conversations, her movements, even her reactions when she thought no one was watching. I needed a full picture before I acted. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about strategy, patience, and understanding the full scope of her plan. Meanwhile, she continued to test me in small, subtle ways. A comment here, a teasing remark there, always with that tone that implied she held some secret power over me. I didn't respond outwardly, but inwardly I was taking notes, mapping her behavior, and waiting for the right moment to turn the tables. Each interaction was a clue, a piece of the larger strategy she had been building. I started subtly planting seeds in conversations, testing her reactions. A hint here, a question there, always careful not to reveal my awareness. Each small experiment confirmed my suspicion. She was reckless in her belief that she could control everything. She underestimated me. And that, I knew, would be the key. By the end of that week, I had a plan forming in my mind. A careful, calculated response that would expose her for the manipulator she was without causing harm to anyone else. I wasn't acting out of blind anger anymore. I was acting with precision, turning every piece of information she had thrown at me into a tool that could backfire on her. That night, as I lay in bed, replaying every detail in my mind, I felt a shift. The fear and shock I had felt when I first received that recording were replaced by clarity and determination. I would wait. I would plan. And when the time came, she would never see it coming. I had been watching her for days, waiting for the slightest crack in her armor. And then it happened. Subtle at first, almost imperceptible, but unmistakable if you knew where to look. She let her guard down. A careless comment to a friend, a lingering smirk that didn't quite reach her eyes, a laugh that was too loud and too rehearsed. My sister, the one who had thought she had me completely under control, was showing signs of vulnerability. It started innocently enough. She would brag subtly to friends about how she had a recording of me or of our parents, and how she had proof that she could embarrass me at any moment. Her pride was palpable, almost blinding. And yet, in that very pride lay her seeds of her downfall. I realized that her overconfidence was her weakness. She was so convinced of her own cleverness that she didn't notice how visible she had become, how easily her movements could be traced. I began gathering evidence, not to confront her immediately, but to create a mirror that would reflect her own actions back at her. Every little message, every sly remark, every boast about having power over me or our parents, I noted it, cataloged it, and stored it carefully. What she didn't realize was that I wasn't just observing, I was preparing. The most telling moment came one afternoon when she sent another recording, smug and triumphant, expecting me to react. But this time, I did something different. Instead of responding, instead of showing shock or anger, I simply played it for our parents in a casual, neutral tone. I watched her face as she realized she had underestimated me. The shock on her face was subtle, a micro-expression that revealed disbelief, frustration, and fear all at once. She had believed she could control the narrative. She thought I would act impulsively, emotionally, and give her the satisfaction she craved. But I didn't. I had turned her own weapon into a trap, showing her that the power she thought she held was an illusion.
From that moment on, the dynamics changed. She became more cautious, less confident, yet more desperate. Her attempts to manipulate and provoke me intensified, but every move she made only confirmed what I already knew. She was on the edge, teetering between arrogance and panic, and I was ready. I started setting subtle traps, planting small truths disguised as casual observations, letting her believe she still had control, and she unwittingly exposed her own tactics, her motives, and her arrogance. Each small victory built toward the larger goal, the ultimate moment where her plan would unravel completely. The key was subtlety. True revenge isn't loud, it's precise. I didn't need to confront her aggressively. I needed her to see the consequences of her actions through her own choices. Every interaction, every reaction, every slip of her tongue became a tool. Then came the pivotal moment. I orchestrated a family gathering. Casual and innocent on the surface. I made sure she was present, confident in her ability to manipulate the situation, and, as expected, she began weaving her narrative, trying to humiliate me and control the perception of everyone around us. But I was ready. I introduced facts, calmly and naturally, that she had never anticipated I knew. I asked questions that revealed contradictions, highlighted inconsistencies, and gently exposed her manipulations. The room shifted. Her smug confidence faltered. The audience, friends, family, even those who had once admired her cleverness, began to notice the cracks. Her expression changed from triumph to confusion, and finally, to fear. The realization hit her. She had underestimated me entirely. The sister who thought she could control, mock, and humiliate was now trapped by her own arrogance. The revelation didn't need drama. It was clear in the way she faltered, in the way words failed her, and in the quiet understanding of those around her. By the end of the evening, her attempts at control had completely collapsed. She retreated silently, and I knew the message had been delivered. Revenge had been achieved, not through aggression, but through composure, intelligence, and careful planning. In the days following, the household slowly returned to normal. My sister was quieter, more cautious, and less confident in her manipulations. The family dynamics had shifted subtly, but unmistakably. Respect, trust, and understanding had been restored, not through punishment, but through demonstration of composure and intelligence. I took time to reflect on the experience. Betrayal is painful, but it can also be enlightening. It reveals the character of others and teaches patience, strategy, and resilience. I realized that I had grown stronger, not just in dealing with my sister, but in understanding the power of calm, measured action. Our relationship would never be the same, but that was no longer a source of fear or regret. Instead, it was a lesson in boundaries, understanding, and respect. She had learned, perhaps the hard way, that manipulation comes with consequences, and I had learned that strength is measured not by reaction, but by thoughtful action. Betrayal and revenge are not about drama or anger. They are about understanding, strategy, and reclaiming your power. My sister's attempt to humiliate me revealed her true nature, but it also revealed mine. Patience, composure, and careful planning can turn even the most hurtful actions into opportunities for justice. The lesson is simple, yet profound. When someone tries to control or manipulate you, don't react impulsively. Observe, understand, and act with intention. Sometimes the most powerful form of revenge isn't loud. It's quiet, precise, and undeniable. And finally, trust must be earned, and respect must be maintained. Even in betrayal, there is a way to navigate the storm without losing yourself, without compromising your integrity, and without letting someone else's arrogance define your response. Life has a way of teaching us lessons through those who challenge us, betray us, or try to control us. The key is not to let anger dictate your actions, but to let clarity, intelligence, and moral strength guide you.